We're gonna plow through this stuff as efficiently as possible and ask the questions that I think we need to ask and get the answers that I'm sure all of you have. I appreciate all of y'all showing up. I think everybody understands the importance of what we do here. While I can appreciate the needs, we have to be extremely transparent with how we're allocating tax dollars so that the tens of thousands of Georgians who are tuned in this morning understand that we're protecting their interest. And all joking aside, in my world, public safety is the most important service that government offers, because business nor none of the other great things, I promise you, we would not be the best state to do business in for ever how many years we've been doing that if we did not have good public safety. And each and every one of y'all play a role in that success, and I greatly appreciate that. And as we ask these questions, I promise you we're not trying to do any gotchas or fence anybody in. We're just trying to look and make sure we're doing everything the best and most effective and efficient way. And so that's extremely important. I want to thank Jennifer and Virginia for the work that they do out of the budget office. Their hip hop supervisor back in the corner, whose hair gets grayer with every meeting. I want to thank my staff for the work they do, especially Jack and Gwen, who put up with me longer every day than most of my family members do, and have not let me down yet. So with all that said, we'll go ahead and get started, and we're going to start out with the Department of Community Supervision. And I want to be clear, I just want to talk about changes. I want to talk about things the House have done. We don't need to talk about spreads. I will try my best to refrain from using the word scrape, especially position scrapes, vacancy scrapes, things of that nature. I know it tends to make everybody a little nervous and apprehensive. But again, I'll say this, we're going to try to be as effective and efficient in how we budget this money. And if we find where we think there's fat in the budget, my job, my responsibility is to trim it down. I want to welcome my fellow committee member and mentor, the Dean of the Senate, Senator Ed Harbison. And I'm going to end up saying this a lot between now and sine die. Senator Harbison and I have been friends for as far back as I can remember. And he's always been an example of statesmanship and a mentor of mine. Has always treated me really good. He's been a missionary in the wrong party for a lot of years, but he's always shown me how to lead with grace, whether I've exercised that knowledge or not. He has always been a good man and a good friend, and I appreciate him a lot.
Thank you, sir.
What mic are you on, Mr. Chairman? All right, I just want to make sure I got it right so I don't. All right, so if we get Department of Community Supervision come up, and if y'all grab mic 2 and 3 there, I'd greatly appreciate it.
Good morning, sir.
Good morning. How are you?
I'm doing well. Thank you for the opportunity to present today. Of course, my name's Scott Maurer. I'm the Chief of Staff with Department of Community Supervision. I also have with me today our CFO, Olivia Duke. We've shared a brief presentation with all of you that represents our FY27 budget summary. I do just briefly want to say it's an honor to be here today and to represent the men and women of DCS that carry out a very unique and critical role in the criminal justice system in the effective and efficient supervision of tens of thousands of people every day across our state. And I just always want to take an opportunity to thank them for their commitment to public safety in Georgia. And so I'm going to turn to, on the track sheet, we're looking at line item 103.6, and this is to increase funds for rent in the West Georgia, Ogeechee, and Mountain circuits in the amount of $726 and $726,194.
There's 1,000 in the middle of that there, yeah.
And
Because
so-
if it's $726, we can go ahead and stop
Right,
now.
yeah.
Yeah.
Yes, sir. So this request is to address projected rent increases in 3 of our around 15 offices that we'll be renegotiating leases this year in. And in those 3 circuits, the baseline rent escalation is typically what we budget for is around 2 to 3%. And in those 3 circuits, based on the market surveys that were provided by State Properties Commission, we're estimating the rent increases in those locations is going to be more like 100 to 500% increases in what we're currently paying.
And you're basing that on COVID?
So a lot of these leases were originally negotiated during COVID, yes, sir. But the increases in those 3 particular circuits are significant. And this is based on the market surveys that State Property Commission has done. Specifically in West Georgia, there was actually an RFP that went out. That RFP was returned to us. I think 3 companies replied to that RFP. And their estimated cost to build to suit is from $500,000 to $600,000.
So are these estimates based on build-outs?
Yes, sir.
So are these existing offices or these new rental spaces you're going to move into?
They would be new rental spaces that we're moving into.
Okay. What are you in right now?
So in West Georgia, we are in an office that the landlord has expressed that doesn't want to renew the lease in.
Okay.
In the Mountain Circuit, we have 2 offices in that circuit. The Clarksville office is in a location that Department of Transportation is widening the road next to, and so they're taking over part of the parking lot as well as blocking access to the rear of the building, so we won't be able to renegotiate the lease in that building. And then in Statesboro, that office has been, we've been in that office for quite some time. State Properties Commission has worked with us to try to get some remediation done there. There's mold issues, there's other issues, and so the landlord has not been willing to do any of the make any of the repairs that have been requested. And even if he were to, the escalation in rent there is conservatively about $117,000 a year compared to what we're currently paying. So even if we were to renew the lease in Statesboro, we anticipate that it's going to go up significantly.
And those are all valid excuses, I believe. Now, y'all are in the process of closing the Tacoma field office, right? At one time?
Tacoma.
I'm sorry.
So we were in we were going to merge offices there, yes,
Okay,
sir.
where are y'all at in that process?
So that is something that we're considering doing as we negotiate these leases here, is merging these 2 offices into one location. But we don't have a location yet.
Right, but that's the intent?
That is, so, yes.
Okay, and no timeline on when that possibly could be done?
I think our lease negotiations are up in June there, is that correct?
Yeah, so we're up for renegotiation right now with TACOA, the Mountain Circuit. So the Clarksville and TACOA office are currently up for renegotiation. We're actively looking for space for both of those locations because we have issues with both.
For consolidation?
For consolidation, and we would look to merge them. To merge both of them, because they're both grant-funded DRCs and they have programming in each, we would need a larger location. And so we're working with state properties to find a suitable location so as not to negatively impact the supervisee populations of both because they're in 2 different locations. So we're trying to find a suitable location, potentially in Cornelia, that would be able to not negatively impact the transportation for those that are in Tacoma and those that are also coming from the Clarksville location.
Could you give us a brief definition of programming?
Programming would be, sorry,
Yeah,
sir, go
that's
ahead.
okay. So particularly in West Georgia as well as in Mountain Circuit, we have grant-funded day reporting centers there. So day reporting centers are essentially a resident or non-residential treatment program that addresses substance abuse as well as mental health. And so the people that are participants in those programs initially they come on a daily basis, and then it scales down to, weekly and then monthly for groups, counseling, and one-on-one.
And those are grant funded?
Yes, sir.
To what percentage?
They are 100% grant funded.
Okay, and does the grant funding on the programming, does it offset any of the expenses of operating the office?
It
The
does not.
structure, anything?
That's only paid for staffing. It's a state grant through
Correct.
CJCC. Yeah.
Right. So it pays for staff and then the program itself?
Potentially drug testing, but at this point, we're just paying, that grant was actually reduced about 2 years ago through CJCC.
Well, I know at one time y'all were really focused on reducing as much office space as possible. And since the vast majority, well, since all of your field officers work out of their vehicles, and the vehicles pretty much became their office, if you will. So, and that is still ongoing, or have y'all pretty much got as small as you think you can get as far as leasing space?
So as these leases continue to be renegotiated, we look at areas. So, for example, right now there are 6 circuits where we have more than one office. And so in those circuits are places that when we renegotiate leases, we'd be looking to potentially merge those circuits or merge those offices into a single office in those circuits. And so since inception of DCS, we've closed 55 offices. Since FY20, we have closed 40 at a cost of around $1.2 million. So we've gotten to where we don't have as many opportunities to merge offices as we did when we initially started as an agency, but that is certainly still something that we continue to look at every time a lease negotiation comes up.
Okay. I do appreciate it.
And so the next line item, of course, is the on 102.3 and 103.3, which is the law enforcement defined contribution for the GSEP's retirement plan, and then the rest of the items are statewide spreads.
Yeah. Any committee questions? Anything? Okay. We do appreciate y'all.
Thank you.
Yep. Pay, let's see, GBI. Good morning.
Morning, Mr. Chairman.
Good morning, sir. How are you?
I am well, sir. Chris Hosey, Director of GBI. Have Ms. Connie Buck, our CFO from GBI, here with me this morning as well.
Connie, I appreciate you bringing your driver with you.
Yes, sir.
All right, Director, I think you know where we're going to start on 218.7.
Okay. 218.7 would be to increase funds for recruitment and retention of medical examiners. This version adds increases to medical examiner salaries by $30,000 and addresses compression by adding 2 salary levels based on tenure of 11 to 15 years and over 15 years. Currently, right now, a doctor with 27 years of experience with us is making about the same who has come on with 6 years experience. So there's some compression there.
Does the compression funding, does it start at the bottom and go all the way to the top to make those reasonable separations between positions and time and grade and?
That would be the goal. Yes.
Right. Does this appropriation get you there, or does it just move the needle to what you're trying to accomplish?
It adjusts the entire thing and inserts 2 levels.
Okay, so
yes,
2
it does.
additional levels that helps take some of the pressure off.
Yes, sir.
Okay. Can you explain the recruitment aspect of the $1,450,000? Increased funds for the recruitment and retention of medical examiners.
Yes.
Is it your thought that by alleviating the compression and having the clear salary gaps, that's going to improve the opportunities to recruit?
It is, and I think it's one prong in the task of recruiting doctors, so that, of course, our fellowship program has been a big success and continues to be, but where we can recruit doctors that have experience already to bring them into the division would be a great help there.
Do we know what the average salary is of these positions around the country?
We are at we're in the right ballpark, but we're on the low end of the average.
Where would you say we are? And if 100% is what we're looking at, are we in the Are we in the top half? We in the,
Oh, yes, we're
Okay.
definitely in the top half.
so we're competitive with our friends in the southeast?
We're competitive, we're on the lower end of being competitive, yes.
Okay,
So we're in the right ballpark, sir.
okay. Currently, how many vacant positions do we have in the medical examiner?
3. But we do have a couple retirements coming up and 1 resignation.
So
But
we're
we
gonna-
do have some,
So we're going to be 6?
so we do have some hopes in the pipeline. We do have a conditional offer out for 1 doctor right now as well, and I believe we're doing interviews for 2 more.
How many do we have? total?
19.
19
We would have
slots.
19 total slots.
19 total slots. We're 6 down,
Will be.
will be, right? So that moves us to 13.
We're going to come back, if everything, moon and stars lined up, we'd be back to where we were, hopefully with 3 vacancies, with the fellowship program
So
not
we'd be,
included
so
in
we'd
that.
be to 16.
Yes.
Okay.
If everything lines up right, everything goes well, we'd be back to 16, I believe.
And when you say everything lines up right, you're talking about if the hope in the pipeline
Yes,
pans out and we find the right candidates.
right.
And how do you guys recruit for these positions?
They are, and I'll turn to you, Connie, on that as well, too. I know that a lot of the recruitment is coming through the advertisement of the fellowship program and the loan forgiveness. The doctors are reaching out to those in similar field to spread the word online. I'm not going to say we've done it at job fairs. I don't believe we've done that for doctors, but every means possible that I'm familiar with, we're reaching out and searching for.
Are we finding that the pressures in the civilian healthcare world are helping open up some opportunities for people that want to get out of the rat race of hospitals and other things and want to come to something that's a little more focused and come over there with y'all, or are we recruiting within that industry?
I don't know that we're making a big difference there, a big pull from that industry. I think where our success has been with the program itself and the leadership that we've had over there in the last few years, with the different options that we have open, with the facilities that are being expanded with more modernized equipment, technology. We're doing everything that we can to shine it up and attract people.
Are we attracting younger people, or are we attracting people my age who we know that are going to be short, are going to be there 10, 15 years and then be gone?
I think it's a mixture of a little bit of all, but I think it's some of the younger age bracket. Of course, the fellows are coming out of medical school.
Right.
But some of the others, the forensic anthropologists that we hired back at the end of the year, much in that age bracket that we believe that she will be around for a while, hopefully. So I think it's a good mixture, but more towards the middle part of their career and beginning their career is what I would estimate.
Okay, Chairman Harbis?
Yes, if you will, what is the fellowship program, just briefly? And it's located, centrally located in Atlanta, or you just advertise across the state? But in a word, what is the fellowship program? How does
So
it
kind of
work?
in simple terms, a medical student that is interested in going into the field to be a medical examiner can apply to our fellowship program. We teach it at GBI. It is
Okay.
instructed at GBI. It is about a year
Yes.
to complete that.
Okay.
Once they complete it, of course, they have to go through a process of applying first and being accepted
Okay.
into it. But they go through that training for a year. At the end of the year, they are given the opportunity, if they meet our criteria in the
Okay.
chemistry of what we want, for us to hire them. In some cases, they are hired by other medical examiners around the state and country. And then, of course, once that takes place, they still have to go and complete their boards at the end of
I
that as
didn't know
well.
that. All right, thank you.
But it's
I
been a
didn't-
great recruitment tool for us.
Thank you.
All right. 218.7 is only for medical examiners, right?
That's correct. Yes,
Okay,
sir.
so none of the other funding goes to any other position.
Yes, sir.
All right. Now, on 218.8,
Yes, sir.
Yep.
would be increased funds to address recruitment and retention of our evidence-receiving technicians and forensic techs. This version provides an 8% salary increase for lab techs and evidence-receiving techs. This would raise that entry-level salary from $46,488 to $50,207. And I will say that the evidence-receiving techs has been one of our highest turnover rates in the lab, and a lot of that is due to the pay. Those are the ones that are taking the evidence when it shows up at the lab and sorting it and distributing it to the right division.
Now, I see this increase came from the House.
Yes, sir.
In the past, the governor's office has pretty much directed all of these pay increases to come through OPB. This is kind of an unusual process, wouldn't you agree? That it come from that way, not, it's just me asking questions.
Right.
Yeah. Not picking sides, of course, yeah. Which is kind of an anomaly. How many evidence techs do you have right now? Forensic techs? Or let me ask you this, maybe we'll start with this. How many funded positions do you have right now?
I apologize, sir, I don't have that number in
That's,
front of me.
do we know how many openings?
We currently have 3 evidence receiving techs that we are recruiting for and 3 lab technicians that we are recruiting for.
And just to get everybody up to speed, how many labs are we operating right now here in Georgia?
I believe the number is 7, and then including headquarters. And then within 3 of those, we have ME offices as well.
And so being 6 short, why we need all 6, I would agree. The number we have on hand is substantially higher than that, right?
Yes, sir.
Yeah, that are in the positions and doing the job. They're just a lot of heavy caseload. Yeah. Now, these vacant positions funded, are they going to be receiving, does the 8% increase go into those vacant positions also in order to avoid compression as we move forward?
I would assume so, yes.
So that we're not creating another compression problem when we bring new folks in? All right. The 218.9, I think, is where we're at.
Yes, sir. It would increase funds for a $2,000 salary adjustment for recruitment and retention for crime lab scientists, supervisors, and managers.
Is this again an attempt at outrunning compression?
But more so keeping our lab benches filled
So it's just a recruitment tool?
and to hang on to them, yes, sir.
Right,
My
but it's,
understanding.
when you say a $2,000 salary adjustment, we're talking about a $2,000 salary increase, right?
Yes, sir.
Do you currently operate these positions under a step system? Or,
Yes.
Yes, they are.
so does this 2,000 and this line, does it create any kind of compression as we're talking?
It should not. It should not create compression with
No,
the
sir.
step system already in place.
Right, but we're adding $2,000 to a particular step, right? Which coming in?
To the entire series.
Yes.
So it
yeah.
applies 2,000 to the entire series for the scientists as well as the evidence receiving and the lab techs. The lab techs and evidence receiving adjust by the 8% across the entire series.
Right?
And then the scientists, it's 2,000 across the entire series as well.
And we do all of that for $750,000 that then become a part of the annual budget, right?
Correct.
So,
And just to answer your question, we have 50 filled lab techs, 18 evidence receiving techs, and we have approximately 221 scientists filled on state funds.
and those are the full number of funded positions, or you said filled?
Yes, we are currently recruiting some of
Excuse me.
the evidence receiving techs that we mentioned, the lab techs, and we are in the process of recruiting approximately 10 to 12 of the scientists.
I believe it was 12 in different varying divisions or sections of the lab, I should say.
Okay. Now, the vacant positions are receiving the $2,000 salary adjustment also, correct?
Some of them are. The House included 7 scientists, and then the 3 lab techs and the 3 evidence receiving techs.
On the 2,000 adjustment?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Or would you say an increase, the $2,000 increase in base salary?
Yes, sir.
Okay. All right, and let's jump down to 21810.
Okay. It would provide discretion to hire new medical examiners at the appropriate pay scale level based on years of experience without base funding to support the hire. The language is meant to clarify that if GBI hires more experienced doctors, they will come back and add funds to cover the higher salary rather than have us hold the vacancies to cover the increased cost.
And to be clear to everybody, who is they?
That was come from the House version.
Right, the House would come back and fund this somewhere between 0 and,
Not sure.
Yeah.
It depend on the doctor.
yeah. Have we ever done this before?
Not to my knowledge. We do have it built in where we can pay salaries that are commensurate of a doctor's experience if it is worth that. But
And where does that funding come from normally, Director?
from in-house,
Yeah, but where's that money in-house?
from our budget.
And
Well,
where in the
vacancies,
budget would it
yeah.
be? Vacancies?
It's vacancies, yeah.
Doctor vacancies or other
Yes.
vacancies? Vacancies in personnel?
Yes, so the medical examiner's office budget is within the forensic scientific services, so it's combined in with the crime lab. So I think what the House is trying to address is that if we have an opportunity to hire somebody who is experienced, it would really depend on who left, right? We may have a higher salary that can cover that salary. However, if it was somebody who is an entry level and we found someone with experience, there may be a gap in the funding, which we would have to hold a position vacant to help cover. And I think that's what they're saying they're trying to avoid. But at this point, until we do hiring, we don't know what that looks like yet.
Okay. And I think you can appreciate a little bit of my concern there, right? That there is no number there, and we know what the job is. We know what the job description is. The only thing that would change it is experience. Bringing somebody in, it would save us on the front end as far as training, getting somebody up to speed, walking in the door. But it's just a little concerning that there's no number
Yes, sir.
in that spot. And just, not that I would ever question your discretion,
I understand.
or your character. I've known you for a long time, and you're one of the really good guys. So it's just a little concerning when my friends across the hall throw a 0 in there and said, "Trust us," and us is not you guys. All right, and again, 21811 discusses the fellowship, the
Yes.
fellows program.
Yes, sir.
Right.
It would utilize existing funds to provide a salary increase to the fellow program and authorize one additional fellow. It would use existing funds to pay the fellows at the rates commensurate with the fellows at Emory and Mercer, which is $80,000 and $90,000. GBI is currently paying $79,000 per fellow. In FY '27, the salary for a fellow at Emory with postgraduate year 5, or if they're in postgraduate year 5, was $85,455. The additional fellow that is mentioned there would be built in once that our expansion on the ME office is completed. So right now, we would not have the room to put that extra fellow. So it's kind of a two-pronged thing here as well, too, is to increase their salary. but then to allow for the hiring of additional fellow once that expansion is completed.
And to Senator Harbison's questions earlier, can you tell us the benefit of the fellow program?
It is, first off, it is actually putting doctors on staff with us. That is where we have seen that benefit from. I forget now how many we've had come through that program, but it has definitely added doctors to our staff. I believe when I came on as director, we were somewhere around 9 or 10 doctors, and we're at 16 now. But also, we get a lot of recognition in the state with our fellowship program for those that want to go back to their home state to do the same thing. So it's been a great benefit.
Look, and you've been involved in law enforcement throughout the United States and in other places around the world. Have you seen a program like this in other places?
Not that I'm familiar with. Not that there couldn't be. I'm sure there are out there. But I give a lot of credit to our team over there, how they run that program, the instruction that they ensure that is provided. It is setting them up best to fit into our ME program, but also to prepare them in passing their medical boards as well.
And what's the success rate, would you think, of retaining these people once they finish the program?
It would be a guess right now. Typically, if we have, let's say 3, we'll get 1 out of it. If we get 2, we'll get 1 out of it. But again, it comes down to, at the end of that program, do they fit best with us? If they don't, then we don't sacrifice, taking someone on that we don't feel fits in with our program well, just to fill another slot.
And if we didn't have this, then our success rates would be 0. I mean, you've taken us into places that we haven't gone before.
We would be
and had-
blind recruiting
and had success
across the country.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Is there a need for an additional fellow slot beyond what you're asking for? I mean,
There will be. We anticipate the completion of the expansion of the ME's office at headquarters early calendar year 27, and at that point, we would be able to. One problem that we can run into if we overload with fellows is having the doctors who do the instruction being able to provide quality instruction, but also being able to do their job with conducting autopsies as well.
So do you
we're
think-
trying to find that balance, and that's how we're predicting that.
and are we at that balance right now?
We are right now.
Okay. And when we look into 27 and we look for an additional fellow position, are we also going to have to look for additional instructors?
Potentially. I think that is, we're looking at that we believe we can handle that. Right now, it is the space and being able to have the space to train and conduct autopsies, but also conduct the training for the students.
Yes, sir. Well, if you and I are both here next budget year, and you should want to do this, I would hope y'all would come in with the full ask of the fellow and the instructor and everything, so that we wouldn't have to make adjustments at the end of that fiscal year to accommodate for things we failed to do early on. So because you've got, it's a successful program, I don't want to break it by us being afraid. So I appreciate that.
Yes, sir.
Okay, we're moving over to line 219.9.
So 219.9 would provide funds for 3 special agent positions. In FY26, we received funds to purchase 1 portable electronic surveillance unit. That is actually noted just below in the next line, where we're not needing that money any further. It was just a one-time. These positions would support this electronic surveillance platform that was purchased last year. And these agents would be utilized to operate that system. We're actually able to purchase another one through grant funds, so that we can locate one in the north part of the state and one in the south part of the state. This version here, or this change here, adds $295,456 for the one-time cost for the 3 agent positions that was previously only partially funded.
Now, would 3 currently employed agents move into that position, and then this would fill the
Yes.
open slots down the chain? Okay.
Yes, sir. We're actually operating some of that at a low level right now with a loaner system until ours are built out.
Now, in the FY 2026 budget, OPB didn't include the one-time startup costs for the 3 special positions, right?
That's correct.
Yeah. And I think at that time, the conference committee directed you guys to utilize existing funds to cover those costs?
There was partial funding for that, yes.
That
And
came
so-
from existing funds?
Yes, it was a part of looking at the vacancies in our agency. We've identified some of the holdback and delays in hiring. I think there's 77,000 that was retained within the Bureau to go towards the one-time. We've identified some other one-time funds like recovery from insurance that we can put towards it, and this would fund the rest of it. We don't have this amount, almost 300,000 in vacancies in the current year to fund the one-time for these agents.
Thank you.
Mr. Chairman?
Mike 10. Yes, sir. Chairman Horst.
Yes, Mr. Director, can you help me with item 219.11? And I'm interested in that gang transfer of funding. It reads, transfer of funds from the Georgia Bureau of Investigation to the Georgia Emergency Management and Homeland Security Agencies for Gang Case Management Systems Board. Then it says increase funds for Gang Case Management System 3.1. I'm a little confused. What does that do really? I'm trying to, because I'm interested in the gang activity and make sure we're up to snuff with that funding wise. So is that taking away money and put it in the management am I gonna
GMO.
Director Hosey, if I can say something, Chairman, if I can say something real quick. I
Yeah.
think there's a difference of opinion between the governor's office
Okay.
and us,
Okay.
Senate and the House, on where this program is better housed.
Okay.
Our position is it's better housed with the GBI.
Yeah.
The governor's position is it would be better housed over in Homeland Security.
That's what I was getting at, right.
But I'm operating under what we feel is best, which is these programs be housed and funded in the GBI. And so if you could explain the program, if
Okay.
you would. Yes, sir.
So the program itself is, so we have a gang database within
Right.
the agency right
Right.
now, but I will refer to it more as a pointer system. This system here that is referred to in the budget is much more thorough. It contains
Okay.
more information. It is a much more robust system. I'll put it like that without going into a lot of detail. The first thing that we wanted to do as an agency with this system is be able to make connectivity with it to our current case management system, so that they interact with one another, for lack of a better way of putting it. The other, I think, benefit of this system is that it can be utilized throughout the state. And it is a good system to be utilized by law enforcement throughout the state.
Okay.
And then
Okay.
when they are entering information into it, we're entering information into it related to gang activity investigations. Everybody has access to that. So the connectivity between law enforcement and working gangs
good. Yeah.
really goes up
That's good. Okay, thank you. That's good.
with that system.
Chairman Albers.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Yes.
Good to see y'all.
Yes, sir.
I assume this is Formalytics, is that accurate or
Yes.
not? Okay. So just to explain, this is really
Yes.
how we build those cases in order to then usually go after them with RICO charges and tie those together, and why it's so important. And they need to be tied together. I'm glad to see that we're
Yeah, I
taking a
agree
step
with that.
forward.
That's good.
Thank you.
Thank you.
And Director, I want to be, local law enforcement agencies have the opportunity to participate in
Thank you.
this program, right?
Yes.
Is that through MOU or is that through any other type of agreement?
Yeah, I think we're going to have to research how that is done. I believe it's
Right.
been done but through MOU in the past. But obviously, the goal would be to get as many agencies involved in as we can. But again, it is a system that is only as good as what people put into it and how they use it. So hopefully, I think it will benefit the state greatly.
Yeah, and Chairman Harbison, I think one thing we have to understand, and you and I experience it in our district, where if the Columbus Police Department becomes a part of this, and these gangs are very fluid, they move throughout the state. If we get in Department of Corrections, the spread of these gangs become really clear. That men who have never known each other in face to face get in prison. One may be from Atlanta, one may be from Columbus, and one may be from Savannah, but they're all a part of the same organization. And once we have all this intel in there, if any of those individuals move around the state and commit any other crimes, the intel that from the cases in Columbus where they dealt with, when they came to Atlanta, committed crimes, or when they came to Savannah, committed crimes, all go into this system. So when they pull that John Doe individual up, they get a full picture of his criminal activity throughout the state of Georgia related to. It's something that law enforcement, when some of us started a long time ago, was lacking.
Yeah.
Where we would have individuals move around the state in order to hide.
That's good.
And this right here is a good way to catch them and track them, and gives us truer numbers and data when we come to budgeting or when we have to build intel systems to help prevent a lot of these crimes that occur.
More expansive.
Right. And I think with World Cup and everything coming the way it is, these types of systems are going to help us fight crime and reduce the opportunities for violence around the state. So it's a great program, and it does need to be inside of, and I never want to offend anybody. I do it a lot, but it's never intentional. It does need to be in a robust law enforcement agency, and I don't think there's any more of a robust law enforcement agency in the state of Georgia than the GBI. And so I think they're the experts, and this system needs to be under their supervision and management.
I got it. Good deal. Thank you.
Anything else you would like to offer up or throw at us? I know your assistant director's been sitting back there kind of whispering to both of y'all, guiding y'all through this, so. Anything, y'all? Well, listen, I greatly appreciate the job you do. I echo what Chairman Albers says. I've never not been impressed with the way y'all do your job, and for a point of personal privilege, Chris, I appreciate mine and your friendship throughout these years, and I appreciate that no matter how great of friends we are, you have always been the example of what a true law enforcement officer is, and I appreciate you not losing that as you moved up through the ranks and continue being the man you are.
Thank you. I appreciate it.
It means a lot.
We appreciate
Thank
y'all
y'all.
support.
Y'all have a great day.
Thank you.
And I know you'd normally be getting up around this time, so appreciate you coming out here early.
Still a good investigator.
Out of his office.
Office. 421, right over there. Yep.
He's rich.
CJCC.
There you go. You get it.
And I just want to remind the committee, CJCC's on page 29 in your reports. It seems like only day before yesterday we were talking.
They all run together this time of year, Mr. Chairman.
Well, I really enjoyed our meeting the other day. I appreciate the reports that I got afterwards. But I want to jump down to 222.2 and talk about the increased funds for domestic violence shelters.
Okay.
I think the number I'm showing is the House put in $9.4 million.
That is correct, Mr. Chairman.
My inquiry as to how these funds will be dispersed between each shelter. How do y'all decide which shelter gets what funding?
We have a pretty intensive process that we go through with our partners, not just domestic violence shelters, but all of our partners in awarding funds that we administer. We do have some state funds that have historically been granted primarily evenly across programs, not entirely, but primarily evenly across programs. And then there is a considerable amount of funding through other grant programs that they have to show us their need. They have to show us the area that they're covering, the services that they're providing, the number of services that they're providing. It's becomes a competitive process. What we typically try to do is assure them of a 3-year continuation when we award competitive grants, and then they'll come back typically after that 3 years and have to once again show the need that they have and be able to verify the requests that they're making. And obviously, our staff does a deep dive into the needs from across the state and the available funds. It's a pretty in-depth process to go through to determine those funding.
And Director, I think I heard you say 4 or 5 times the need. During this budget process, I know that everybody sitting in this committee, somebody comes to their office to express a need. And a lot of times we see true needs, and other times we don't. We just see people that think their program's the best program there is because, you know, they're in charge of it. And it's their idea, and we hear a lot of ayes, very few we's during this time. But the competitive process, is it based on some type of matrix? Is it based on bed space? Is it based on, do they look at the number of family violence cases within a circuit or something like that to help us, to give us the numbers? Would you welcome to step up and
I'm going to invite someone who knows more about this than me to come and talk about this, Mr. Chairman.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Thank you so much, Chairman. So with our federal competitive processes, when we are going through reviews, we have asked historically external partners to join panel reviews. And we review things like need statements, where we do review the geographic area, the number of family violence cases within that area, the number of TPOs granted, to see, right, if we're doing that outreach and working within the coordinated system to improve that. And then we're also looking at just in general bed space, like how many folks are they seeing? Are they looking at innovating programming? Are they looking at exploring, right, additional services for mental health or children's services in order to essentially, like, hopefully intervene and prevent that cycle from.
Now, I know you probably didn't come here prepared for this question,
Okay.
so I'm not trying to trick you, but
Yeah.
could you identify yourself and tell us exactly what your role
I'm
is?
so sorry. My name is Christy Carter, and I'm the Victim Assistance Division Director at the Criminal Justice Coordinating Council.
Thank you, Christy, and I appreciate that, and you're doing God's work dealing with this. So somebody could come in and they could have 60 beds, but if they're only filling 30 of those beds, that's taken into consideration as far as grant funding, right?
So with state funding, right, we have essentially allowed additional funds to be granted equally or done what we have been directed to do by the legislature in the past. Essentially, what we have stated is that based on some of the funding analysis that we have done in the past, it cost an average shelter back in 2021 about $896,000 just to comply with minimum standards and provide basic core services that are mandated by certification standards. At the time, right, when some additional funds were added by the legislature, it was determined that no domestic violence program was receiving that level of funding to comply with standards. And so in order to at least get them to a base level, we essentially determined that we would just equitably distribute until, right, that minimum operating cost could be covered with state grant funds.
Okay. Now, I looked at each of the 47 shelters individually and looked at the funding. What I see right now is the vast majority of their funding comes from federal funds. Would that be correct?
Historically, yes, that has been
Okay.
correct.
I mean, historically, as in
Yes.
today, that's vast, okay. How do we anticipate the chaos that's currently occurring in a federal budget that will not balance in my lifetime? Sadly, I think that will be the case. How do we anticipate that? Because that would be a huge hit.
Yes, sir.
I mean, over 50% of the funding in these shelters come from federal funds.
Yes, sir.
And this is a absolutely essential resource in these communities for these vulnerable women and children that are impacted, right?
Yes, sir.
So is there any actuarial thought put into the process as we go down the road?
Right. So, wish I had a crystal ball. It is really difficult
We can't budget
as
for that.
as a state administrator of federal funds, right, to be able to plan accordingly at the state level and then to be able to communicate with these providers. So we had a really large, right, increase back in essentially from 2016 up until about 2021. And then we started to see our primary federal funding stream that was supporting folks like the domestic violence shelters start to really plummet, right? As of this past year and what we anticipate this upcoming year for our Victims of Crime Act Formula Award, we do anticipate that to look relatively similar, right? So around a $42 to $43 million mark. It's all very dependent on deposits that are made into what they call the Crime Victims Fund.
Right.
Those have been fluctuating and really even hard for Congress, right, to determine what those are going to look like and then be willing to increase the obligation cap to prior to what it was back in, I think it was 2022 when we started to see those big reductions.
But if that breaks there, then we're left with the responsibility of funding these centers, correct?
In my opinion, yes.
Yes, and
Yes.
as in mine too. Thank you. Let's jump over to 222.3, increase the fundings for the sexual assault centers, and that's 3.3. And I'm assuming we're attempting to do the same thing we're doing in the domestic violence shelters, right?
That would be correct.
To make sure that we have the proper funding to offer the services that we're required to offer when the ladies come to the shelter, correct?
When they come to the center,
Right.
There's
the
there's
center
not
being
a
correct.
shelter associated with
Right.
sexual assault centers. But, Mr. Chairman, a number of years ago, and it's not been that many years ago, in many areas around the state, if a woman presented in the middle of the night or early morning hours having been assaulted, in many areas of the state, that individual would end up in an emergency room being cared for by medical professionals that are not properly trained in a number of areas. Victim-centered, trauma-informed approach, not trained properly in evidence collection, which is a real issue for law enforcement and for the prosecution as well. The state of Georgia has done a phenomenal job over the last probably 8 or 9 years of making sexual assault services available around the state in a much more equitable fashion. So it doesn't matter your zip code. If a woman is attacked, she can anticipate receiving a similar level of service around the state, and I think that's something that we can be proud of in the state of Georgia. That is, those services are being provided by those sexual assault centers around the state, and they too are being impacted by some very difficult financial situations over these last few years. ARPA funding and the legislature has gone a long ways to offset that. We've been able to minimize the impact, but as you know, the ARPA funds are running out, and the the programs are already beginning to feel those impacts, and it's going to accelerate over the coming months.
Do you want to say what y'all anticipate that total ARPA drop to be across all programs, or would I be correct to say over $30 million?
36 million.
Right, and so we either lose the programs or we fund the programs, right?
We actually, Mr. Chairman, did a survey of our programs because we were able to deobligate some ARPA commitments. We had some programs that we're not going to be able to expend all of the ARPA funds. We had a very limited amount of ARPA funds that we could reallocate. So our team did a survey of all our partners to see where the biggest immediate needs are around the state. 215 nonprofits out of 234 that we fund replied to that survey. We have awarded some additional funds to those that are in the most critical point right now. But as we began compiling the survey from our agencies, we found that, for example, 33 agencies responded that they will not be able to maintain current staff levels through September 30th of this year. And the number, 102 agencies report that there'll be negative impacts to direct client services between now and September 30th. And then once you get past September 30th, the impact becomes far greater.
Right. Well, we appreciate what y'all are doing, and certainly hope the 3.3 does get us to where we need to be right now, but I do anticipate moving forward, we're going to have to make some adjustments based on the current failures out of DC. We'll move on to 222.4.
222.
DHS transfer.
222.4, we beginning July 1 of this year, we entered a contract MOU with DHS, and they moved funding that had previously been going to the CACGA, and then CACGA was distributing that to the child advocacy centers. $1 million of that was state appropriations. 821,946 was from the Children's Trust Fund. What this does is moves $1 million from DHS to our Family Violence Program, and then increases those funds, 821,946, to make up that Children's Trust Fund portion of it. So the funding, in essence, that we're administering right now through contract will be in our budget based on this House proposal.
And I do want to point out to the committee, the funds we're talking about were appropriated by the House. These were not in the original appropriations, not in the governor's original budget, correct?
That is correct, yes.
Okay. So over at 222.5, another transfer funds from CJCC to the Criminal Justice Coordinating Council Family Violence Program.
So last year, in conference committee, $3.125 million was added to our budget to the Criminal Justice Coordinating Council program. That 3.125, the House has suggested moving that from our program to the specific family violence program within CJCC, and then increasing those funds to be a total of $5.273,778.
And this is, again, hoping to offset the ARPA reduction, right?
That would be correct.
Okay. And now we'll jump down to 222.6 and increase funds for 8 child advocacy centers and 20 satellites.
So one of the things that we found with the funds that were being managed by CACGA, we have state certification requirements for child advocacy centers. CACGA also had certification requirements to be a member of CACGA. We have centers that are state certified, but they were not receiving full funding from CACGA because they had not reached the funding that CACGA wanted them to meet. And this $912,641 brings those centers up to where all of our state certified centers will be funded equally through the state appropriations.
Okay. Any questions from the committee related to anything? Anything else y'all would love to add or want to make sure we know?
No, we're happy to answer any questions that you have. I appreciate your interest in victim services, Mr.
Well,
Chairman.
in the meeting we had the other day, I absolutely appreciate that meeting, appreciate what y'all do, and I don't think most people understand the complexity of the caseload that your folks distributing this money are currently under. One final thing I do want to point out is there is an audit system that y'all have used. Aggressively might not be the right word, but y'all been very diligent in looking at how these funds are allocated to make sure that each center is using these monies properly, and y'all have been responsive to complaints when there's been concerns about them not being used the right way. And so I do appreciate that. I do think the caseload, I think, is something we're going to have to discuss at some point moving forward, because I think it's just getting overwhelming for the number of people that you have there to do the job. And so I think that may be a conversation we need to have after session in anticipation of something down the road. If y'all would be open to that, I would greatly appreciate it.
We're open to that. I can tell you in reference to that, for fiscal year 25, our Victim Assistance Division processed 5,512 sub-grant expenditure requests for reimbursements, over $100 million, administering multiple federal and state fund sources, and we did that with 18 grant specialists. We had grant specialists were carrying caseloads of about 30 to 35 grants up until about 4 or 5 years ago. At one point, they were carrying about 110 grants each, and I think now our average caseload's about 65 or 70 grants per grant administrator.
Well, I appreciate it, and we'll be in touch. Thank y'all for doing what you do every day, and thank you for the lives you save and the families that you repair through the programs y'all do.
Thank you.
And it doesn't go unnoticed up here, so thank y'all very much.
May I have just one
Absolutely.
privilege? Chairman Harbison, you mentioned him as being your mentor. I served in the House for a number of years, and great relationship with Chairman Harbison, and I can say that I'm going to miss you not running for re-election. When I saw that, I was a little disappointed. I understand, but I was a little disappointed. I appreciate your friendship, Chairman Harbison.
Same here, sir. Thank you, Mr. Director. Appreciate
you.
it. Same here. I remember you, Pastor.
Thank you.
Yeah,
Thank you, Mr.
that's pretty emotional. You got Jennifer emotional, and Jennifer's not emotional, so I don't know how in the world that happened. So.
Thank you, Captain. Appreciate it.
Thank y'all again. All right, the Council on Accountability Court Judges. That's 28 in your packet, page 28 in your packet. And I'm going to ask y'all when you sit down if you'll pull the mics close to you. I'm getting got a note from the tech people that they want to be able to hear everybody.
Good morning.
Good morning. How are y'all doing?
I'm doing well. Thank you, sir. My name is Brenda Weaver, and I have appeared before committees for a long period of time And I think the reason I'm here this morning, Mr. Chairman, is that I realize I have served 30 years come April the 2nd as a Superior Court judge, and before that was a juvenile judge. And I also have served as a presiding judge in a felony drug court since 2002, and I presided as the presiding judge in the Veterans Court. So I think I'm speaking today because under Georgia law, I'd be an elder, because I think that's anyone 65 and older. I do have with me, as backup team behind me, Judge Scott Smith from the Cherokee Circuit and Judge Dustin Hightower of the West Georgia Circuit, and as well as Ms. Taylor Jones, who is the executive director of our CACJ. I want to tell you, and I was thinking about some of the comments, sir, that you were making to others. Being on the bench for 30 years, plus before that, I served as an assistant DA and also as a defense attorney, so I've seen all sides. And I will tell you that in those 30 years, that the creation and development of the accountability courts have been the very best thing that has happened in the court system. Those courts allow us to actually allow individuals to change their style of life. I could tell you that unless they're violent, we must send them to the state prison system. Individuals that we serve who are high need, high risk, would be in the state prison system except for the accountability courts. What I'd rather see as a taxpayer, and obviously from your comments and the comments of the committee members, I like to see programs that actually save state dollars. So for every dollar that you put in our budget, we save the state of Georgia $9 and I think it's 32 cents. Now, we're pretty proud of that, and we don't come up with those figures ourselves. We use other agencies to do independent studies so that we can make sure that we are using the treatment that we need, that we're doing the compliance, that we're drug testing, that the judge is reviewing, and that we are making sure that we're doing everything that a person needs in order to graduate from our program, but even more important than that, to recover. Because if they're in actual recovery, they're going to stay that way. Just this month, I was asked to swear in a person on the City of Jasper City Council. The reason that was so important to me is that that individual years ago had come into my felony drug court, and at the time he was living in the woods. He had no housing, he had no job, and he was addicted to drugs and alcohol. So when he asked me to swear him in as a new city council person who had been elected by the citizens of the city of Jasper, I really don't know who was more emotional. Was it me or him? You could go into your circuit, sir. You could go across all of the circuits in the state of Georgia, and you're going to get those types of wonderful success stories. Now, are we successful with everyone? Absolutely not. We're not. I would love to tell you that we are, but we're not. But I will tell you that we are successful with most of them. And if those of you who have been at graduations will hear the family members, the spouses, the children, who will come to us and say, thank you for giving my daughter back, my husband back, my son back. And 83% of those graduates are working and they are paying taxes, just the way that you and I are. So they are contributing back to the system. We've had 52 drug-free babies born in the last year, which saved the citizens of Georgia over $3 million in medical costs, and 49 families were reunified, which saves money in foster care and the other programs that must be used when we are keeping children away from parents because of their addictions. So we have felony drug courts, we have felony mental health courts, we have family treatment courts, we have DUI courts, we have juvenile drug courts, we have veterans courts. So we last year served over 9,000 participants, which was a 12.3% increase from the year before. That has been our greatest increase, and we thought last year was wonderful because we increased by over 11%. So each year we are serving more citizens, and we know as of fiscal 26, We have already served almost 6,000 participants across the state of Georgia in these programs. Now-
Judge, can I ask you real quick on,
Yes.
on these increased numbers? Do you see these increased numbers based on increases in crimes, or are we able, or the crime numbers are staying steady, and we're able to pull more people out of that would normally go into the system and on into the Department of Correction? Are we just doing? Are we becoming better at vetting and finding those and pulling them into
I
accountability
think
courts?
all of the things that you're saying, but what I also think is that we're getting greater support from law enforcement. They see that we are holding these individuals accountable. We're certainly providing the supervision they need. We're sending out compliance officers to their home. So I believe that the reason we're getting more and more individuals is that we have earned the trust of our district attorneys, of the law enforcement community. Many of our referrals come from the law enforcement community. They're out in the community. They know that maybe they have arrested this person over and over. Sadly, they also know the individuals that we have going into our mental health courts. They see them often, and they feel like that we can better serve them from going in and out of the jail. Many of the individuals we get in our accountability courts, we are getting them from the local county jails, and they're on their way to the state prison system.
The funds that you're talking about we're saving, these funds we're saving in you as an experienced Superior Court judge. So these are cases that are not going into traditional Superior Court. So, and you're talking about the $9.32 per dollar cost savings. Is part of that cost savings coming from the Superior Court, where they're able to work more efficiently and effectively, that they're not hearing these cases that can be handled in programs, drug programs, and other types of accountability programs within the accountability court?
Is it saving time for Superior Court judges? Is that what you're saying?
I'm
Judge?
asking, yes, ma'am, are we saving time and money in
Well-
Superior Court by directing people to accountability courts?
An accountability court judge spends an awful lot of time dealing with the accountability court, so I'm thinking about my own time.
I'm talking about the overall expense to operate a courtroom.
I think it would be, yes, sir, I do, because I'm not going to see that person over and over and over. I mean, the accountability courts, frankly, at this point in time, is providing much of the substance abuse and mental health treatment in the state of Georgia.
Right, and I'll go ahead and tell you this too. I don't think you have to sell anybody on this committee the value of accountability courts. I think that we all appreciate that. I was blessed enough to work at a sheriff's office that brought one of the first veterans courts to the United States, thanks to Fort Benning.
And I
so-
visited that court, actually, and did a peer review, yes, sir.
and I appreciate that. And I think most circuits have bought into the accountability court model.
Yes, sir.
Through the great management that y'all have done throughout the state, through some of some incredible grant writers that y'all have around the state, and we want to see it continue to grow and be effective.
Every circuit has at least one accountability court, and we have like 190 across the state of Georgia.
Yes, ma'am. And we do still get a little pushback from the traditionalists who think that everybody gets arrested should go to the old system. And
Sometimes they just need a cheerleader like me to convince them that maybe they might be wrong. What do you think?
well, a cheerleader or a parent, if you will. Yeah, somebody they've never had direction from anybody or they've never felt that anybody really cared about whether they turned out the other side. And I tell everybody, every town's got their Otis. It's just
Yes,
in
sir.
today's world, he's not the drunk that rides the cow down Main Street. A lot of times, he's the guy addicted to meth or addicted to opiates, who's found himself without a home, lost his family, or she's lost her family. And I think you gave a great example of somebody. I don't know if becoming an elected official is recovery or not for this poor guy, but he may have just fallen into another addiction, I'm afraid. But I think it's great. Yes, ma'am. What mic are you on, ma'am?
Good morning.
Good morning.
Johnson.
11.
Glad to have you with all your experience here. But I've been an advocate of supporting in my area these accountability courts. Do they have one for mental health in all of the different ones? Because I'm hearing from the sheriffs and that the prisons or jails are full of those who are mentally challenged?
We do not have a mental health court in every circuit. A lot of circuits do. I have one in my circuit. But that is certainly an area that we are hoping that we can continue to encourage judges to start those mental health courts in their circuit. They certainly are needed.
Yes.
And a lot of the times, those are the individuals, we actually call them familiar faces, which is sad, but because they're in and out of jail so much. And many times, it's not for serious violations, it's just things that they're doing which gets them involved with law enforcement going out, and law enforcement, frankly, having no other place to take them other than local jails. So we do, in the circuits that have mental health courts, we certainly keep an eye on the local jails and any individuals like that. We try to get into our mental health court, and a lot of those referrals for mental health court actually do come from the law enforcement deputy sheriffs, city police officers who are dealing with these individuals day in and day out. Yes, ma'am.
One other quick question is
Yes, ma'am.
about, do you have a waiting list or something? Because a lot of
ma'am.
parents or spouses or whatever of the inmates want to know if their loved one can go to a accountability court, but they don't go. And when they show me their record, I know that they need to go because the recidivism, of that individual could probably be helped, like you had already mentioned is going on already.
Well, certainly the recidivism rate for individuals who graduate from the accountability courts, and even some who don't, is so much better than those who are in similar categories across the state of Georgia. For example, veterans, there's like 9% recidivist rate, which is extremely low. But we want to expand, but of course it takes money to expand, and we are asking for some expansion money. Rockdale County is actually asking for additional monies, and that's part of the money that we're asking to increase to start a veterans court. And frankly, if we can't serve our veterans, I really truly don't know who we can serve. And if I could say one more thing, and I do talk to
You're a Superior Court judge, so I don't want to walk outside the building and be held in contempt, so yes, ma'am.
But I do want
Say
to
one-
talk
you can
about
say one more thing.
a veteran. We had an Army combat veteran that was referred to us. He had no place to live. He had no job. We have what we call the depot in our circuit, which is sort of a men's shelter that we allow individuals who are in our accountability courts to live until they can get a job and find a place to live. So initially he went into the depot suffering from severe post-traumatic stress syndrome. He was a combat veteran. He graduated, and I'm proud to tell you that he is now, his charges were dismissed. He is now a commercial pilot and a commercial instructor, and he's certainly giving back to his community. So, as I said before, in your court, there's Judge Hightower and Judge Smith could tell you the same type of success stories. I know we could tell you a lot of statistics, but to me, in my heart, I like to tell the human element, because I am a mother and a grandmother, and those stories, those individuals that are able to get sober, they mean a lot to those individuals who love them.
I appreciate that. Chairman Harbison?
Yes, I just wanted to say how much I appreciate what you do in the accountability courts. 6,000 people, I say, is usually processed through that. Not usually, but has been processed. But more importantly, and fortunately I can't remember the Marine Corps veteran who was the House Judiciary Chairman at the time, came to me with a bill to standardize all of the accountability courts in the state of Georgia, and I successfully passed it to the House. That's one of the greater things that I was so honored to be a part of, a major part of, and I just think I visited some of the ceremonies. And it's just been really rewarding to see the people turn their lives around, and they become very productive, especially our veteran, as a veteran myself. So I just want to commend you for that.
Thank you for your service, sir.
Thank you. Appreciate it.
All right, and let's jump on to line 221 2.3.
And I'm gonna turn it over to Ms. Taylor, because Ms. Jones, she knows those numbers.
She's a smart lady.
Yes, she is.
Well, good morning, and thank you for the opportunity to address line 221.3, which is the opioid trust funds. The governor's budget has recommended $25 million in opioid trust funds be allocated to CACJ in place of state general funds for a net zero change in funding. So just essentially the funding source changing, but not the amount. After the governor's recommendation was released in mid-January, we've had multiple conversations with OPB, CJCC, the Department of Law, and members of the General Assembly regarding the nuances of how those funds could support accountability courts. There are some exceptions where we feel like they could be best used to support adult felony drug courts and juvenile treatment courts. Since that time, the House has come out with their recommendation reducing the amount of opioid trust funds by half. So just over that $25 million, they've recommended $12,652,773, noting that that change did not reduce the overall appropriation to the agency. And we don't oppose that recommendation. We feel like we could use those funds to support felony drug courts and juvenile treatment courts. And of course, we appreciate the trust that the governor's office has shown us in the House to be effective stewards of those funds.
Is it your understanding that the opioid settlement funds are intended to be used for individuals with opioid disorder diagnosis?
Or those that are at risk of it, yes.
Okay, how would you define those are at risk of it?
Someone that may have a substance use disorder, but not necessarily an OUD, which we know is a type of an SUD, could be at risk of an
And
OUD.
you base that analysis on what?
On the diagnosis that's given to them.
Through addictionologists and things like this, but nothing in the settlement with the opioid manufacturers, right?
I would have to probably defer that question to maybe Ms. Lerner. Did you want to speak to that? Not to put you on the spot. This is Allison Lerner. She's our general counsel for CACJ.
Hey, Allison, if you'd pull that mic over towards you, please.
Good morning, Chairman
Good
and
morning.
committee. Thank you. So I think there's two pieces to the question, if I'm understanding it.
My question is the opioid settlement money, the primary purpose of the opioid settlement money was to be used for individuals with opioid addiction. The response, which I understand, is that is correct, and also with those in danger, if I can phrase it that way, of becoming addicted to opioids. And my question is, how do we determine if somebody has the potential to be addicted to opioids?
Absolutely. Oh, go ahead.
No, go ahead.
And can the funds, in your interpretation, can the funds be used for that purpose?
So that is so to address the first part,
Yes, ma'am.
we consulted with Dr. Kevin Baldwin, who is a research and evaluator with extensive experience in this area, as to what it means to be at risk for an OUD. And so our understanding is that the science supports the definition Ms. Jones gave, that someone who has a substance abuse disorder already is at risk of an OUD and abusing and misusing opioids. So someone who is, for example, so addicted to methamphetamines that they are getting arrested, going in front of our Superior Court judges, potentially even looking at prison time, they are at risk of turning to opiates as well as methamphetamine and developing an OUD in addition to their stimulant use disorder with methamphetamine.
Even if they don't have a history of OUD?
That is our understanding from the science and the research.
And who was the doctor?
This is Dr. Kevin Baldwin with
Applied Research Services.
Thank you. And so the second part of your question about whether the settlement supports that is a little more complicated. The settlement documents, one of them was about 900 pages long, and the segment about exactly how the settlement funds could be used was only about 15 pages long, but it was a lot to go through. We've been meeting with different agencies, CJCC, OPB, the Department of Law, to gain a little clarity on how the funds could be used.
Have you
for
received
specific
any
purposes.
clarity from the Department of Law?
We have not.
Okay, thank you. I have not either. So that's the reason I'm asking the boots on the ground what their understanding is on that. Because while if these funds are to be used for that, then I'm absolutely comfortable. I just don't want to get down the road and us budget money that at some point we find out that we are in violation of an agreement and these monies are clawed back. And that's my biggest fear, because the science of addictionology is very clear as far as everybody has an addiction to whatever it is. Mine happens to be black coffee and occasional spouts of profanity. But, yeah. 23 hours a day. My mother's looking down, shaking her head. So I just want to make sure we're not tying, because alcoholics, which to me is the most dangerous addiction and the most deadly addiction anybody can have, and science proves that, they could have the same potential. Chronic use of marijuana early on, especially in males between the ages of 18 and 27, they could have that too. So we're basically saying that anybody that has a substance abuse problem, I didn't say addiction, but substance abuse problem, could eventually develop an addiction to opioids, a dependence on opioids, and therefore they would qualify under the settlement for the funds to be used to address their issues, even though they are not currently using opioids. Would that be the thought process we're in right now?
Some could have that thought process, yes.
Well, is that where we're at? Because what percentage of your clients currently, and do you have this data, are addicted to opioids?
What we collect is the diagnosis of substance use disorder. We do not.
And how do you collect that?
It's reported by the courts each quarter through our case management system.
And how do the courts gather that information? Is there an evaluation done?
Correct, through a clinical assessment, yes.
Okay, is this a human-to-human clinical assessment, or is this a software?
It's a human-to-human.
Yeah, because I find they're both really close. When you look at the two, they usually marry up really well. Technology has moved so far forward. So this is a clinical evaluation that tells you that the percentage of those that have and what was that number?
It tells us whether they have an SUD or not. We don't drill down into whether it's an OUD or a stimulant use disorder. What we do collect is drug of choice, and we know that 10% of the population that we served last year identified an opioid as their drug of choice.
So the other 90% have the potential?
They're at risk, yes.
Okay. At risk would be the phrase you would use? How many circuits currently have a drug court?
All circuits do.
All circuits have a drug court?
Yes, sir.
Okay. And juvenile treatment courts?
Give me a moment, I can look.
Okay. And Judge, I'm going to tell you right now, I've spent a lot of my career in Superior Courts and a portion of it in juvenile court, and I'd rather be in Superior Court every day than juvenile court for one day a month. That is a chaotic process in there.
It is.
Yes.
We have 19 juvenile treatment courts.
19?
Yes.
Okay. Is there a need to expand juvenile courts, do you feel?
Yes. Yes,
Okay,
there is.
and because the numbers are just showing it?
That's what we're seeing on the ground. What we have is a notice of intent to apply process. So each year in the summer, any jurisdiction that wishes to begin a new accountability court, whether that's a juvenile court, a mental health court, veterans court, has an opportunity to present some data and some information to the council. And then they review that information, and that's going to be included. Who's going to preside over the court? Have they done the legwork with their local stakeholders to start the program? What does their jail data look like? What does their caseload data look like to be able to identify whether they have the population to be served? And then those are vetted through our office. And if they determine there's a need, then we pass that information on to OPB and then members of the General Assembly to make decisions around.
Okay. Let's move on over to line 221.4, increase funds for new and existing accountability courts to support population growth.
Yes. So last year, as Judge Weaver mentioned, we saw a 12.3% increase. And when you're looking at the average state grant cost to support an accountability court participant of $3,047. That equals an amount of $3,114,034 to help us keep up with the growth that we saw.
And again, we're anticipating, right?
Correct. Well, we saw that 12.3% last fiscal year, because that's the last year that we've collected data. The year before it was 11.3%. So we are anticipating that same level of growth for FY26. We still got 2 more quarters of data.
What do you
to
base the
collect.
growth on? Is it just population, or is it more availability of substances and,
Population census.
okay, all right. Is there one particular accountability court that has a greater demand than others?
I would say juvenile treatment courts, because of the recent passage of House Bill 873 in 2024. There's been some more demand and desire for that. But mental health court and veterans courts are typically the ones. And then, of course, family treatment courts. I think adult felony drug courts, since there's one in every circuit, is pretty stable.
And would you agree that having a juvenile court will prevent the need for, would help reduce the number of adults in accountability courts moving forward
I would agree.
if we attack the problem earlier?
Earlier.
Yes,
Yeah.
I agree.
Thank you. Let's look at 221.5.
That would be funding for a veterans treatment court in Rockdale County that Judge Weaver mentioned earlier. They went through that notice of intent to apply process this past summer, and we passed that information along, and we would just respectfully ask that the Senate join the House in recommending that funding so Rockdale could get those operations started.
What is the veterans population in Rockdale County?
I knew you were going to ask me that today, and I don't
See
have
there?
and I don't have that with me, unfortunately.
But you
we
knew.
can find it. I have it somewhere in my
You
computer.
knew I was going to ask.
I thought that when I was sitting there, and I was like,
Oh,
I did not bring that. I probably should have.
Chairman Harbison?
I didn't quite get your answer for 221.5 regarding Rockdale County increase. The population increase or
Yes.
incident?
Yes, they have an existing adult felony drug court and mental health court, and they want to start to serve that veterans population, which would require some
So
additional
they're not
program.
serving the veterans
Not through a specific,
currently? So
correct.
this is to expand that?
Correct,
All right,
yes.
Thank you.
Yes.
All right.
And this is to the Rockdale?
Right.
Yeah, and my question is that, what data are y'all using to tell us that they need a veterans court in Rockdale?
It would be the data that they support to us through that notice of intent to apply process, and I don't have a copy of their
Okay.
NOI, but we can definitely
Could
send.
you get that
Yes.
to us? Yeah.
Yes, sir.
And I want to jump back real quick to get a good, clear answer. What are you going to spend the $12 million on, 12.6?
We would distribute it through our competitive grant process to sustain existing services, which
And-
would be case management, law enforcement surveillance visits, treatment, drug testing.
And this would all be opioid settlement funds?
Correct.
And it's y'all's understanding that everything would qualify under the current settlement? And listen, I think it's a pretty simple answer. You wouldn't ask for it if you didn't think it qualified, correct?
There are some nuances to it that we've been trying to figure out since mid-January. I think I would, Allison, I don't know if you want to continue to speak to this and our interpretation of it, but without an opinion from the Department of Law, I think that we think there is reasonable, it could be reasonable to spend it on adult felony drug courts and
Yeah.
juvenile treatment
But we
courts.
feel
Allison,
much
would
more
you-
comfortable getting just the 12, at least, before it was the 25 million
Yes.
for the
Yes, ma'am.
governor's office. So we feel a little bit more comfortable reducing that to 12 and having the other state funds so that when we're allocating the money through our funding committee to the different programs, that we can certainly try to get as much data as possible so that as many courts and participants would qualify under that opiate trust fund. I get a separate opiate trust fund grant from the settlement, and I know what we have to report in terms of how it's being spent for those who have those issues with opiates, treatment, compliance, and so forth. So we're hoping everything will be fine, because I don't think Pickens, Fannin, and Gilmer counties will have the money to repay in the event someone tells us that it doesn't qualify.
Right.
I'm going to look to you, Senator, and say,
Yeah.
okay, help me out on this.
Well, and Judge, I appreciate it. I think if we're looking at success, I don't think any of us can argue with the success of accountability courts. But you and most of the people sitting in front of us, y'all know how lawyers are. So if we deviate from the rules, then, there's not a whole lot of comfort given. And then they come and say, hey, it says this, and sadly, without an opinion from the Department of Law, who was going to be here today, and they're not, we're kind of hoping that we're doing the right thing for a great program. But as we move through the process, we'll keep having these conversations. But I do appreciate y'all today. Let's see if I have anything else.
If I may add while you're looking, I
Yes.
think one of the major things that we just want to ensure is that continuity of care for participants. We want participants to continue to be served, whether they're in a drug court, a mental health court, a veterans court, a family court, a juvenile treatment court, or a veterans court, which in Rockdale County has 6,287 veterans.
Look at that. See, it takes a team, doesn't it?
Yes.
Well, listen, I do appreciate y'all. I appreciate the sacrifice y'all make. Like I said, I've worked in the system for many years, and I know y'all have evolved into a system that the 90+% of the people in our prison system right now are there because they're violent. And most of the people, I'm sure, above that number in accountability courts are in accountability courts because they're not. That they are people that have issues that are better handled in the community as opposed to inside the walls of a state prison. So thank y'all very much for the work y'all do. We appreciate it, and it doesn't
Thank you
go
for your
unnoticed.
support over the years. We
Thank you.
appreciate that very much.
Y'all have a great day.
You too. Thank you.
One of you, Judge Hightower,
Yes, sir.
the police mob was stopping everybody that's looking for Hightower.
It's probably him.
Jima. That's page 20 in your packet. And this will be our last one. And we have a hard stop in 25 minutes. Jima? Yeah. Good morning.
Morning, sir. Good morning, Chairman, committee members. My name is Greg Kohler, and I will be presenting the GMA FY27 budget on behalf of Director Lamb. Director Lamb sends his regrets for not being here this morning. Both he and our Chief of Staff, Mike Smith, are currently in Washington, D.C. attending a NEMA conference as well as meeting with our state members of Congress, working some issues for both the state as well as our agency.
Well, part of your job is addressing disasters, and if they're in D.C., I'm sure they're addressing one.
Yes, sir.
So,
I second that.
yes. All right.
So I'd like to begin with number one, we're using the House track sheet numbers.
We're not.
Okay. If we could then, sir,
Let's look at 179.4, increase funds to meet federal matching requirements for
Yes, sir.
emergency preparedness. Is that where you're at?
Yes, sir, exactly.
We're solid then.
We're solid. So the reference to the increase of funds to meet the federal match requirement for emergency preparedness, which was $1.42 million, of course, it's been removed. Though this was associated with the federal government's change in the period of performance, as previously mentioned during our FY26 amended.
Where it went from 1 to 3.
Went from 3 to
3 to
1.
1, and now it went back.
Correct, yes, sir.
Yeah.
As Director Lamb mentioned in the FY26 amended hearing that we had with you not more than a few weeks back, our FY25 EMPG performance grant has reverted back to its original one-year period of performance after, of course, 2 successful state-led lawsuits. Now our concern shifts to the notification of funding opportunity for our FY26 EMPG grant, which is due out in April. However, given the fact that the federal government is currently shut down, we don't anticipate seeing that in April. So the way in which the federal government normally operates, regardless of when they issue that notification of funding opportunity, they're going to end up backdating it to April. Our concern is this. They learned their lesson by trying to change the period of performance, lost the 2 lawsuits for FY25 because they changed the period of performance after the notification of funding opportunity was issued. Our concern is that they haven't issued the notification and funding opportunity for our next FY26, federal fiscal year 26 EMPG, and we believe strongly that they've already shown their cards that they want to change this to a 1-year period of performance, and this is their opportunity to do it where they're not going to be affected by court rulings.
So you're reading ahead. So you think
Yes,
there
sir.
is going to be a shift back to 1 year?
Yes, sir. And we're going to be in the same thing we were in when we were talking about the FY 26 amended. We're just now doing, as opposed to having to spend the federal fiscal year 24 and the federal fiscal year 25 in one fiscal year, we're going to end up having to spend the federal fiscal year 25 and the federal fiscal year 26 in one fiscal year.
So are we still engaged with them legally? I know they lost the 2 lawsuits. Are we going to be right back in that again?
No, sir.
If they go back to 1?
No, sir. The way in which they operated with the federal fiscal year 25 is they issued the notification of funding opportunity for federal fiscal year 25 with written in the notification of funding opportunity a 3-year period of performance. It was issued out to all the states and territories. Everybody had the opportunity to apply. And after they had issued out that notification of funding opportunity, they opted to change it from a 3-year to a 1-year period of performance, which basically negated the agreement rules as I understand it. This time, they have not issued the FY26 notification of funding opportunity, and if they get it in the actual written document before it's issued out, I don't think there'll be a lawsuit. We'll just be stuck. It'll be basically, hey, if you want to apply for this federal funds, apply for it. You got to spend it in 1 year. If not, don't apply for it.
Okay. Let's look at 179.5. Transfer funds from Georgia Bureau of Investigations to the Georgia Emergency Management and Homeland Security Agency for gang case management system support.
Yes, sir. I mean, I heard what this committee discussed with GBI up here, and we are fine with that.
Okay, good. I appreciate
Yes,
that.
sir.
Always love it when everybody loves each other.
Yes, sir.
All right. 179.7. It's $928,000
Yes, sir.
increased funds for operations.
Yes, sir. So that was actually, it was either part of the 1.42 or it was a combination between the 5.7, and I'm referring back to the 26 amended.
Right.
The 5.7 as well as the 1.42. So what transpired in that regard, and we desperately require that particular funding.
And explain to me, you desperately require it. Could you
Yes,
tell me
sir.
what impact it has
Yes,
on
sir.
the EMPG program?
So what transpired between federal fiscal year 23 and federal fiscal year 24 EMPG was a 9% federal reduction in funds, which basically is $928,815. We haven't seen that added back in between 24 and 25, nor do we anticipate seeing that added back in between 25 and 26 or any time into the future. So basically, we begin every fiscal year as our agency in the red by that amount of money, roughly $1 million. Really, my thought process would be is this actually really needs to be put into our base budget that we normally don't talk about as a given. So our, what is it, $5,004,456 should be increased, in my recommendation, personal recommendation, by $928,815 as opposed to being a separate line.
And when you say personal recommendation, is that not the agency's recommendation
sir.
or request?
Yes, sir.
Okay, was it requested during the last FY budget?
We brought That I don't know, sir.
Okay, because you want it to become part of a line item, correct?
Correct, sir.
Okay, so right now is the right time to ask for it if we want it to be there, correct?
Yes, sir.
And to be stabilized. Okay. Now let's jump down to something that I've talked about a few weeks back. The 179.8 increased funds for emergency services.
Correct, sir.
Okay, we're all public safety, so we know what emergency services are under a big umbrella. What is this $2 million for?
We know it's for local fire stations. We don't have the specificity on the specific locations or what the shortfalls are yet. We've been trying to acquire that information, but we don't have the details on it.
Well, and this to committee members. I'm again, not comfortable giving somebody $2 million not knowing where it's going. And I understand fire stations, there are fire stations throughout, I've got 10 in one county that I have that are 501c3s and volunteer fire departments. And Chairman Harbison and I have a full-time fire department in Columbus, Georgia. I got full-time fire departments in Troup County, and I've got hybrids in Meriwether County. There's fire departments all over the state, and I don't know where this $2 million is going. So
Yes,
that's
sir.
my concern, and I appreciate the fact that the agency is looking for the information and does not have the information, is very open and frank with it. So I do appreciate that answer.
Yes, sir. And we will continue to try to determine those details, and if we're successful in getting that information, we'll be more than happy to provide it to you in this committee.
And I do want to point this out to the 10 people in the room and the 2,000 or 225,000 watching online, is that we're going to be making our recommendations Friday on what goes into the fiscal year budget. And so if y'all could find out what this is today or tomorrow, it would be greatly appreciated if you could get that information to myself and the analysts. We would love to be able to move forward with that.
Yes, sir.
Anything else from you today that you'd like to offer up?
No, sir. The only thing would be back to the original increase in funds to meet the federal match requirement. It would be the same figure, the $5.7 million would be my recommendation to cover that.
What were you on line? You 179.4?
The very first one, sir.
Yeah.
Yeah, the very first one.
You want us to, you would love for us to bring it back to the governor's recommendation of 1.4?
Of 5.7. Well, I mean, back to the 1.4, but actually an increase to reference the amended 26, which is 5.7. To do the match, because we're having to match two federal grants simultaneously. I feel if I was a betting man, I'd put money on that in this next NOFO for the FY26 federal EMPG, it's going to be a one-year POP.
Yeah. You know that bill did not pass through the House, right?
Correct, sir.
Gambling? Yeah. It didn't pass. It fell over there.
I do recall that, sir.
Yeah.
And as if I said,
Am I correct, Chairman?
if I
Okay,
was a
thanks.
betting man, sir,
Yes, sir.
I would bet that, but
Okay.
that would be the one and only time I'd bet on it.
We'll look at that, and I appreciate it greatly, and I hope your friends make it back from D.C. unscathed.
Yes, sir.
All right, if there's nothing else, we
No, sir,
are
we're good.
adjourned. Thank you.
Thank you, sir.